seemed like the law was the way to go. I was going to be an immigration lawyer. It was going to be perfect. And then I was on it was a Saturday morning LSAT, and I was hating life. And I walked out and went to a Waffle House and had a waffle and an epiphany, which also happens at Waffle Houses, I think, pretty often.
For you?
I think for a lot of people. And realized I didn't really want to be a lawyer. Like, if I wanted waffles more than this LSAT, I probably shouldn't be a lawyer.
You're 33 years old now.
Yeah.
You've founded a handful of companies at this point. You funded a number of companies. Your father, Armenian.
Yeah.
Your mom was also a very pivotal part of your life and your decisions behind Reddit.
I had two awesome, loving parents. And, you know, from my dad, I certainly got a sense of confidence when it came to entrepreneurship, because my dad started his own travel agency, still in business.
Really?
Hell of a job,
Where
Dad.
can you book that tour? Give a plug for your
plug
dad right now.
Infinity Global Travel. My dad, he's carved out a niche with corporate travel. He did it at a time, he did it during the first tech boom. And so I would sit at the dinner table and I was building websites for fun, and I loved the internet. But I saw at the dinner table what a difference the tech industry was making, because every day he'd come home with another story about how the airline had cut, you know, agents' rates to zero, how he had to compete with another .com that was doing online travel. But it gave me a front row seat, and I realized, geez, I want to be on the other side of this. I want to be one of those disruptors building this technology that's having such an impact. And I'm grateful for that. And obviously, my entire paternal side, being Armenian, imbued me with a very strong sense of responsibility. My birthday is also on April 24th, which is the recognition day for the Armenian genocide. So like every year, it was a very visceral reminder from half of my family about how lucky I was. So knowing about all of their sacrifices, I think gave me a tremendous amount of strength and ability to endure. And then on my mom's side, all of my best qualities come from her, full stop. She sacrificed so much for the family, for me, and then, you know, 3 months into Reddit, she was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. And that changed everything for me. As a 22-year-old, I really, you know, I felt invulnerable. I had I thought I had all of this amazing stuff ahead of me, and then all of a sudden it just stopped mattering. And, you know, the first day that we learned of it, and then I flew back. We were in Boston at the time working on Reddit. I flew back the next day, and I met her at the hospital, and literally the first words out of her mouth were, "I'm sorry." That is the kind of selfless person she was. Having that grounding and that that was the cheat code that I was gifted by her, because it gave me perspective on everything I did going forward to this day. Because, you know, as an entrepreneur, you have awful days. You have it's very bipolar. You have great days, you have terrible days. And on the worst days of Reddit or anything that I've ever done, there is always this reminder of it's actually not that bad. Because professionally, there's a limit to how bad it can get. And even on those terrible days, I knew what my parents were going through, and it didn't seem so bad. So I feel like I got all the wisdom that someone would get towards the end of their life when I was 22. And it has been, I think, one of the best assets and gifts that I could have gotten from her. All of my success is a credit to them.
Of all the things you've done at this point in your life, what are you most proud of?
I am still blown away by all of the little things that can happen and that do happen daily on Reddit. Obviously, you hear about the big stuff, like the Bernie Sanders campaign raises millions of dollars, but it's the little acts of decency that happen literally every day, where someone gives a loan to a total stranger, or buys a pizza for someone who's had a really hard day. That kind of stuff is really awe-inspiring. I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of these people. So many of them say that they feel like they have a voice there. They don't feel like they have in their daily lives. And I can't help but feel like there are a lot of people just in the world, like my mom, who either wouldn't have the opportunity or the desire or the interest or whatever to be able to have an idea and express it to that big of an audience, but who now can. And that's really awesome. And I like to think that, you know, because of all those ideas, because of all those just random acts of just decency, a lot of what she was as a person still lives in all the people using the site.
What's your vision 10 years from now? What does it all become, and what do we become as a result of it?
I really hope we have 1 billion plus people able to find their people and able to make these real connections. I really think one's identity on say Reddit, FluffyBunny72 or Rebecca Jarvis, whatever you want your username to be, that identity on Reddit will mean as much to people or more than the name on their driver's license. Because that's where they've been able to really connect with people, where they've been able to tell someone, even if it's hundreds of thousands of total strangers, about a terrible day they had or some relationship problem they're having. They're able to make that connection. They just they can't show up to work one day. I mean, you could probably do it for a few days at work. You can't show up to work every day talking about this stuff and expect people to still want to talk to you.
How do you square that with the trolls that we know are out there in this era of social media? The amount of negative things that can be just spewed without anyone having any consequences for saying those things.
You know, there's always going to be some amount of discussion that is going to be distasteful on social media. But I don't think it is because of social media. We have a responsibility, if we want to improve the discourse, and I think all of us generally do, to know that these people do exist and hopefully start guiding discussions in more productive places.
When you made that call to come back, both you and Steve, the original founders of Reddit,
yes.
How did you make that decision, and what did it teach you about founders of companies and their role in leading a company?
You know, as founders, especially when you sell a company, right? We sold Reddit in 2006. Very rarely does the story end up that the company becomes independent again and the founders get to come back. This is not a normal story. There were so many times over those years when I thought, man, I wonder maybe if but we never really thought it could happen. And so when it did, you know, I was living in New York at the time. I moved almost overnight to San Francisco and just got an apartment across the street from the office and just showed up. But it was something we felt like we had an imperative to do. The company size has grown about 74%. We've hired a ton of amazing people. We're shipping product improvements. We have a native mobile app now. Like, we've made material improvements across the company. And
when are you going to do video?
Who knows?
When are we going to live
Rebecca?
stream on Reddit?
You know, we're going to have to make sure you're one of our launch partners if that ever happens. But I can't speak to any specifics on video. How
much time do you spend on Reddit on a given day?
Oh, this is awkward. I'm on it literally every day because I got my Reddit app on my phone. It's on the home screen. Like, I probably check it 5 or 6 times a day, but I don't do deep dives like I used to. There are a couple of subreddits I just have to check to see what's going on.
Which ones?
Well, it depends what sports season it is. Right now, it's r/NBA. When it's football season, it'll be r/Redskins. Although it's a little off-season stuff, so I'm, you know, tuning in. But like, that's all I let myself because I can't get caught down like the Reddit wormhole.
When it comes to everything else that's out there, all the other apps that are out there, what's your very favorite app right now?
I mean, aside from the Reddit app, oh, Snapchat, duh. Yeah, Snapchat. Okay, it took me a while to get into it. I didn't understand it. I have 2 younger sisters. They could only communicate with me through Snapchat. Hi, Amy. Hi, Haley.
My sister wants to communicate with me.
On Snapchat.
Hi, Lauren.
Yes.
On Snapchat.
That's because it's so quick and ephemeral, it's easy. And like, they won't text me, but they're happy to send me like an awkward photo of themselves being like, hey, I'm eating a sandwich. The thing about Snapchat that I do love and that I see the corollary in Reddit is that it is so authentic. People don't love seeing DJ Khaled shirtless in a hammock. I mean, some do. But like, they love knowing that this guy is just being himself.
Yeah.
And it's not an intern tweeting it. It's like him just looking to a camera being like, what's up? This is my life. Here's what I'm thinking.
I'd say it's about being playful. It's Reddit and Snapchat are the 2 places where I can feel like I can truly be playful because it is ephemeral and it's not going to last for, you know, forever in the same way that other things do. So I can test things out and play around a little more.
And I would argue you can also be your full selves we act differently when we're at work than when we're at church, than when we're with our friends, than when we're with our family, than when we're with our bowling team. And that's okay. We're not being disingenuous. We're just tapping into different parts of ourselves. And that was when Snapchat really clicked for me, is when I realized, like, it's letting you be playful.
What is the #1 thing that you are looking for anybody out there with an idea? The #1 thing you're looking for, whether to put your money, your weight behind a company?
Founder. It's the founding team. You know, I will still get behind a founder working on an idea that may not be quite great. You know, I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't, because Paul and Jessica bet on me and Steve before we had a great idea. And that's something that's really stuck with me. There are a lot of things that great founders need to have: grit and determination, flexibility at the same time, being able to like change tactics when they realize the one they're trying isn't working, and like being sort of self-aware enough to do that. A lot of folks aren't willing to get past that first superficial layer and realize that, okay, like beyond the kind of glamour of like, yeah, you're a CEO, is a ton of just work and a ton of rejection and a ton of people who don't care about what you've made. And the first time you share that thing with the world and realize that like 15 people looked at it and none of them did the thing you were hoping they were going to do, you just got to get back to it and keep improving. And great founders will do that. And I know there are ways you can demonstrate those things by having shown that you've been able to build stuff. And if you weren't, let's say you started out with a history degree, but you taught yourself enough code to get a prototype, right? That shows that you have determination. Those first 3 months of Reddit back in 2005 was just don't screw up. We weren't thinking like, we'll one day connect to 30 United States or anything. No. It was just, let's not embarrass ourselves. And
did you embarrass yourself?
We did not.
Really?
I mean,
there were no
plenty of other
embarrassments?
instances. No. There were plenty of embarrassment. Oh yes. No. There's, if you look at the early, just look at the first versions of Reddit, it's embarrassing. I mean, we're first-time founders, and for those first few months, we really didn't know what we were doing, but we got a few important things right.
What were the things you did get right?
We took $12,000 from Y Combinator in seed funding because the focus was essentially either write code or improve your product, whatever that might be, and get users. And if you're not doing one of those two things, you would get reminded every week during these weekly dinners to like get your life back in order. And so I advise a good number of early stage founders these days, and I repeat this same advice. Like, if you are making that decision at the start of the week on Monday, you've got a million things to do, bucket it out into those two buckets. If it doesn't fit into either one of those, it is not worth doing. Do not spend 6 hours designing a business card, which I did, which was stupid, and it still looked bad.
Can we see that business card?
I will send you a photo
Great,
of that business
because
card.
we're going to put that business card up on the screen when you say that. What's the first point along the way, if there is one, that you doubt what you're doing? And how do you get past that point?
I heard so many times, why would people spend so many hours a day creating content or making connections or having discussions with people they don't know? And you would hear that a lot, but what we knew fundamentally was that this was already existing. It was existing in pockets of the internet. Forums had been around since pretty much the beginning of the net. The way I learned how to code and the way that I would get, help with video games I was stuck on was through strangers on the internet, on forums. That was a very formative part of my childhood, and for Steve and me both, we took that for granted.
Steve, your co-founder,
Yes.
who you met first couple of days in freshman year at UVA. Moving day.
Yeah.
You were on a completely different path at that time.
First week of college at UVA, I was pre-med. Like a lot of pre-med students,
The
I dropped
first
it
week.
within a week, literally.
What was it that made you drop it? What was the
I had
class?
signed up for the wrong chemistry class. No, it was bio. Signed up for the wrong bio class, and the professor was like, no, you shouldn't be here. So I just got up and left, and I signed up for a history class instead, and I loved it. I declared my history major. And then I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life then. Seemed like the law was the way to go. I was going to be an immigration lawyer. It was going to be perfect. And then I was on it was a Saturday morning LSAT, and I was hating life, and I walked out and went to a Waffle House and had a waffle and an epiphany, which also happens at Waffle Houses, I think, pretty often.
For you?
I think for a lot of people. And realized I didn't really want to be a lawyer. If I wanted waffles more than this LSAT, I probably shouldn't be a lawyer. And I went back to my apartment and talked to Steve and said, dude, let's make something together. Let's start a company. We knew that if people were willing to invest time, literally spending hours doing tutorials for HTML that they'd never get paid for, that were really just for the benefit of just total strangers they'd never even connect with, then clearly if we built a platform for them to do that and get a sense of reputation and an identity, even if it's a username, FluffyBunny22 or Rebecca Jarvis, that sense of identity has meaning. And that's the part we got right. We didn't spend a lot of time trying to convince these people that it was going to be a thing one day. We just did it.
Work.
Yeah.
Execute.
Just the work. It's the unglamorous, unsexy part of entrepreneurship. You know, starting a startup is now like starting a band. It's great, and I'm happy that it's so popular, and I've done a lot to espouse the virtue of that. But somewhere lost in all the sex appeal of being an entrepreneur is the fact that it's just work. It's a lot of work, and that's the thing that actually helps these things be successful.
You're in SF full time now.
I know. I miss the pizza.
That's what you miss most about Brooklyn?
Pizza's so much better, but
I think the tacos are so much better in San Francisco.
oh, Mexican food is much better.
The best Mexican food.
Oh no,
Burritos
we just
way
started
better.
talking about Mexican food.
Yeah.
RJ, monologue, go.
Please, tell me more.
No, it's all
How are
right.
the
I'll give you
tacos
all
in
my
Minneapolis?
recommendations. The tacos in Minneapolis are okay when they're made in the Jarvis house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're at the exchange taco recipes.
Totally.
Chimichanga.
Yeah.
Oh, I've never made a chimichanga in my life, but I do love tacos and I do love Mexican food and I like making it and I like eating it.
Do you make your own tortillas?
I've never done that.
Okay, so I'm backed a Kickstarter campaign. That is,
Is it a tortilla maker?
It's a tortilla maker. This is
Are
like
you getting
peak
one?
internet absurdity. Yeah, I don't know when it's gonna ship. It'll probably be next
5
year.
years.
Yeah, knock on marble.
How much did you pay for this?
I don't remember.
I want to know what the
Couple
tortilla
$100.
maker costs.
It's bad that I don't know. It was such an impulse buy, and I was just like, I'd say maybe $200. Like, I've been told it's kind of blasphemous, and like it's not. I mean, like,
to make your
it's not-
tortilla
with
like
a
it
freaking
came out
machine.
like a pancake
Yeah,
that
I
just
know.
came out of a instant mix.
No, but I'm from the internet, and so when I see a machine that does a thing that I can back on the off chance it might actually get built, I'm like, yeah, of course I'll support you, entrepreneur. Click.
Is there another
I
crazy?
want to make my own tortillas. Is what I'm getting.
Okay, when it's
All right.
available,
Okay.
please bring one.
Okay.
How big is this machine?
It's like a bread maker
Oh, it's
size.
not that big. Okay.